morning, everyone. Welcome here to Arena STL here on Fuel Sports Footwork. Been 2 weeks since I've been on, and there's been a lot that's been going on in the indoor football world. Be sure to know that on this Tuesday, that right after the show, we have Battlehawk Live coming up. So let's start what's going on here. So recently, a few days ago, because this will be probably the final thing I get to talk about the Arena Football League and what and put an end to this tumultuous season for the AFL here in 2024. A few days ago, Off the Walls podcast actually got and finally got the finale of all the awards for that league, which unfortunately, like I said before in the past, will be the final season. Sorry about that. Final part of the season of the Arena Football League. And we got here, we'll start with the front office awards. Executive Year, Steve Titus, Billings Outlaws. Sounds right. Best Game Day Presentation, Orlando Predators. That's correct. Best Media Relations and Social Media Team, the Nashville Cats. Yep. Best Dance Team, Prowlers, Orlando. Best Mascot, Cool Cat from Nashville. Community Service Award goes to the Albany Firebirds. Now the Football Operation Awards. Coach of the Year, Cedric Waller, Billings Outlaws. Makes sense. They won the championship. Cedric Bonner, Billings Outlaws for assistant coach. Once again, Billings Outlaws. Offensive Player of the Year, Darius Prince, Albany Firebirds. Obviously. Defensive Player of the Year, Freddie McGee of the Salina Liberty. And the MVP, which is the quarterback of the winning championship of the Arena Football League, Billings Outlaws, Isaac Harker. And can't really go wrong with any of those choices there. Then for the first team offense, you got Dwayne Wallace, Lyman, Albany. Shane Lockett, Lyman, Albany. Christian Olmstead, Lyman, Nashville. Jake Molick, fullback from Albany. Yeah, that's the right decision. Uh, Isaac Hawker, quarterback Billings. Then wide receivers Dwayne Brown. Yep. Darius Prince. Yep. Braxton Hawley, receiver. Kicker Bailey Giffen of Billings. First team defense Marquise Lawson, Greenwood, Lyman, Southwest Kansas. Henry Kellogg, Lyman, Salina. Ezekiel Rose, Lyman from Nashville. Yep. Sauce Fanu, linebacker Billings. Roderick Jarrett, linebacker from Salina. Marcus Smith, defensive back Albany. Cedric Thomas, defensive back Billings. Michael Lawson, defensive back Southwest Kansas. Then we got the second team here. Jamez Kimbrough, Lyman Billings. Torrey Boyd, Lyman from Orlando. Terrence Ames, Lyman Billings. Hunter Swoboda, the fullback from Billings. Jake Medlock from Albany. Yep. Clarence Williams, Damaris Washington, Todd Ether, wide receivers. Mark Orozco, kicker for Albany. Then second team defense, Reggie Howard, Nashville, Lyman. Mikael Robinson, Orlando, Lyman. Justin Foster, Lyman, Salina. Nick Hagg, linebacker, Albany. Derek Harvey, linebacker, Billings. Jay Woods, defensive back, Nashville. Tevin Homer, defensive back, Orlando. And finally, Mikhail Lee, defensive back, Washington. So finally, they got the awards out. Apparently, this was sent out in August. It was just announced a few days ago, or someone found it. But unfortunately, as we know, the Arena Football League that's owned by G6 Sports and all them, or it's not going to happen. And all those teams now move to the new Arena Football 1, which has been pretty busy in free agency lately. So it's nice to finally close the book of what actually will be the brand for Arena Football League. Fortunately, I wish it wasn't like that, but I'm sorry to say that brand is just tarnished from now on. So let me get out of here. Ooh, oh, wrong one. Okay. Now we're gonna go with some Arena Football 1 free agency. So now there has been a lot of information, a lot of signings that happened here throughout the last 2 weeks. And there has been quite a few of impact ones here. So let me get that there. So I'll start naming off some 1-2. You might know them here because so far the only teams that have been busy are Southwest Kansas, Billings, the Mexico team Montreal, Wichita, Oregon, the newest team that just got announced 2 weeks ago, the Salina Liberty, the Albany Firebirds, and the Orlando Predators. Southwest Kansas signed wide receiver Eugene Mentor Jr., quarterback Jarius Garrison, defensive back Ronnie Allen, quarterback Montel Cozart, defensive end Margie Smith, wide receiver Todd Atheny, defensive lineman Jamar Montgomery, and then one that those that were Battlehawks fans back in 2020, Connor Davis, he's back as a lineman, as a tackle slash tight end for the Southwest Kansas. Did pretty well. I kind of hope this time they'd be able to give him the ball more this year because he's actually a tight end playing in on the 11 man. So it'll be good to see he's back. I'm glad to see it. Hopefully he improves from last year. He did pretty good blocking wise, in my opinion. But nonetheless, still pretty good. Now for Billings, wide receiver Jonah Morris, fullback Cameron Hall, defensive back Simon Burns, wide receiver Roland Fayoe, defensive lineman Kevin Thurman. Then for the Montreal, Mexico team, Izar Thibodeau, linebacker, defensive back Latavius Kismarker Kin. A lot of got some hyphens in some of these names this time. For Wichita, Cordell Rogers, Joshua, defensive back, defensive line, Joshua Perry. Then for the new Oregon team, offensive defensive line, Jens Hines the fourth. Linebacker, defensive back, Jaton Roberts. Wide receiver, defensive back, Chris Lewis. Defensive lineman, James Reddy, sorry. Wide receiver, linebacker, Maurice Ashley. Salina Liberty, offensive line, Dallas Raines. Offensive line, Ezekiel Williams. Anthony Redmond, offensive line. Offensive line, Devontae Dunn. They went really heavy on offensive line the last 2 weeks. Then the final one, kicker, Jeremy Reynolds. Albany, offensive line, defensive line, Russell Falunga. Linebacker. See, this is what's interesting. They signed the after our previous show, signed Nick Smith, linebacker. Then the following week, they actually released him. So we actually had our first release of the first inaugural season of Arena Football 1, which was kind of interesting. Defensive back Marcus Smith. Offensive lineman Jacobus Smith. Released one Smith and signed two more. Uh, Offensive line Bruce Trigg. Offensive line Kobe Bird. Wide receiver defensive back Markel Wade. Then Orlando, we'll discuss this a little bit more. Quarterback Andrew Sales, that formerly of the IFL in the Tulsa Oilers. Offensive line, defensive line Caden Berger. Wide receiver, linebacker. We'll talk this one. Derek Harvey Jr., who was actually part of the Billings championship team for the Arena Football League. Football linebacker Desmond Maxwell. Kicker Dylan Barnes. Wide receiver Clarence Williams. And quarterback Callis Cooper. So going through all those signings there, and there was a lot, especially for Arena Football, you might have noticed not all the teams. You still haven't got any new signings for Nashville Cats, and that might be still with the deal with the lawsuit with their current ownership flux that's going on that I mentioned 2 weeks ago. Then you still haven't got any signings for the inaugural teams from Stockton, Crusaders. Then you also don't have any signings from the other expansion team, in Pennsylvania, the Winston Perry, that still as of yet has still not have a name. So when I go, AF1 actually put out some impacts ones here. So as of right now, though, the first one that they mentioned is Otis Odom Washington Wolfpack for the Salina Liberty. And yeah, like he was one of their best players last year, so glad he's back. Well, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. He was with the Liberty, and then he moved to the Washington Wolfpack, and boy, Washington needed some more players. So it's interesting that you see some teams re-sign players, but then teams from from different teams recently signed with new ones, and you expect it to be back, then somehow they just change. Either more memory or possibly the location was a lot more convenient for that player in Washington. And of course, he was part of Liberty last season, was a runner, receiver, and returner, averaged 16.6 yards per return for Liberty, had one to the house and stuff. And then, of course, the last episode with me and Zach on here for Sam Castronova for the Albany Firebirds. And this is a very big signing for him because they got a quarterback that was with the previous franchise, even though technically it was the same ownership of the Firebirds. But as we know, through one of the biggest dismantlements like before the whole Arena Football League debacle we had here in 2024, the Albany Empire, which was bought, you think with good intentions, and just exploded when former Pittsburgh receiver Antonio Brown bought the team and just turned that whole franchise and burned to asunder with all sorts of things. That don't get me started when he said he was going to suit up for a game and then he just came out with a regular suit. That wasn't fair, man. That wasn't good. uh, and as AF1 pointed, Sam Castnor is the biggest new signing of the 2025 cycle so far, has been a fixture of the 50-yard game for multiple seasons, has thrown 50-plus touchdowns in each of the last 3 seasons. Castro earned 2024 IFL Offensive Player of the Year honors for his 75 passing touchdowns and 23 rushing in 16 games. He's a difference maker offensively and returned to Albany after previous with the Albany Empire 2022 and 2023 because he was with the Empire to the whole Antonio Brown debacle. Then after that, he still stayed in the IFL. I, for some reason, can't remember his previous team right now for some reason. And now is back at Albany in the Arena Football 1 for back to and playing the same building with the Albany Firebirds. So that's one of the probably a good number of top stories for the Arena Football 1 inaugural season here in 2025. Originally from upstate New York, Kessler is excited to return where he started his arena career. The Firebirds are returning many pieces from their 2024 squad. Castronova will have strong options to throw the ball to, with Marquis Wade, Darren Townsend, and Isaiah Scott all returning to the fold throughout their 2024 season. Albany had a prolific offense that will only give Eric Castronova slinging the rock and running. And the Firebirds are hungry to bring a freedom championship to the capital region. So, yeah, that's about right because during the whole free agency, Albany resigned and just basically have a lot of returning from a team that lost the AFL championship here, of course, with the game called the Brawl to the Mall. Next one for the Wichita Regulators, they have Ed Crouch. Last season, Crouch started the season as a backup in Orlando and closed out the season in Wichita, playing 3 games for Regulators. In Wichita, Crouch started 3 games. After getting acclimated, Crouch broke out against the Washington Wolfpack. Crouch threw for 10 touchdowns against and only 2 interceptions down the stretch. Against Washington, Crouch threw for 6 touchdown passes, and his rapport with explosive receiver Akil Greer was on foot with, he caught 3 of those. Yeah, that's a good story too, if I remember, because he was on a different team that at the tail end went to Wichita, which they needed it. You heard me and Zach and a few others that have been on this podcast. Wichita had the worst roster out of all the Arena Football League last year. So, and this year, it's going to be a huge improvement already with all the talent, bringing that quarterback back, the wide receiver, and also some more wide receivers. So they now have weapons and expect them, especially in the Central Division, because it's heated up with the Salida Liberty and the Southwest Kansas as well. Then, of course, the Atlanta Predators, like this is what I'll mention here, because Andre Sale, because he, as I mentioned when I read off the list, he is now probably the new starting quarterback for Atlanta Predators. And up until now, I wasn't really impressed with the Orlando Predators because they didn't have much signings. You had a few re-signings, like a little bit. It would just seem they've been stagnant for a bit. Then, of course, their quarterback retired a few weeks before free agency. So it's now, who are they going to get now? Well, now they got Andrew Sale that played for the IFL Tulsa Oilers last week. And as I said here, and they mentioned two players on here, so it's kind of a double dip. Because Andrew Sell and Alexis Rosario, the wide receiver, they played on the same team for the Tulsa Oilers, so basically the quarterback and basically his go-to guy. Andrew Sell threw for 37 touchdowns against only 6 interceptions in 9 games last season. He was a huge part of his team's 2024 success. In 2023, he threw for 26 touchdowns against only 6 interceptions. Again, in both seasons, Sale could also make plays with his legs. He ran for 11 touchdowns. A product of Tennessee Tech and LSU, Sale will be entering his third season in the arena game and will bring his experience as a position coach at the collegiate level table as well, because he's also got hired as a position coach as well for a school. So kind of interesting, but it's not unheard of. Heck, there were a few UFL players that before we had a lineman that actually worked as a lineman coach for a university dude and got back into the spring game. Coming with Sale from the IFL is his top target, Alexis Rosario. Rosario delivered explosive 2024 as he racked up 84 receptions for 857 yards and 22 touchdowns. He was less prolific in 2023, but still highly effective as he totaled 48 catches, 521 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Coming into the jungle in Orlando, Rosario will be under a big spotlight as he appears to be well prepared for it. Rosario played 4 years at Westchester University and is prepared to bring excitement and chemistry he and Sale built over the past 2 seasons. And to continue with Orlando, because you got Andrew Sale, you brought his go-to guy, but then you also were able to sign Derek Harvey Jr., which was one of the main reasons that kept the Billings in a few games last year. So now you got that whole side there once again, because one of the big matchup it was throughout the season when every time Orlando and Albany faced each other. So that's going to bring that rivalry together. And if there's going to be any Billings and Orlando games, which I expect to be, that's going to be kind of interesting, especially if they go towards Billings and Derek Harvey goes back to where he was previously when they won the championship for the Arena Football League last year. For the Swimmer, they have Tracy Brooks. Uh, he was a large part of Liberty for the past few years. Saw his role involved last season as Liberty transited from a running back to a receiver. Yeah, he was worked all around offensive last season was a big reason for the Liberty's offensive success. Had 366 total offensive yards, 11 total touchdowns. Yeah, pretty good as well. And then for Billings, they of course re-signed Cedric Thomas, delivered still one of the best defensive players of the year, defensive player for the Football League last year. And then for the Southwest Kansas Storm, Michael Lawson, another defensive player. So those are the top plays that the AF1 side has. And it's like I said, with the whole free agency, it's kind of interesting now it's because it reminds me of NFL free agency in a way, because now you actually, because you assume you resign the players you have before with free football. It's like, I'm here, let's just resign there. But no, you got a few of the stars that were in one team now go to the other. And like I said, Orlando is scary right now. Albany is scary right now. Wichita's improving. And you got Oregon that is just jump starting and they're looking good too. Montreal's not doing too bad, especially signing that quarterback 2 weeks ago, first of their franchise history. So that's going to be good as well. So it's going to be interesting what else, because we still haven't had Nashville sign anyone, Stockton sign anyone, and the other Pennsylvania team also signed. But then of course, because we're still waiting here, because we're almost to mid-November, that's when they're supposed to announce schedule, and also some other possible expansion franchises as well, because there's still some questions of other right now, because as of right now, as you look at the map, you kind of got the three Kansas team's on an island somewhat, even though Nashville's close in. You got the Mexico team, and they're really on an island right down there in the south. So it'll be interesting if they might get a Texas team. Maybe they could be considering one. And then I don't know, like there's some other type of teams. Like apparently there's a team that maybe jumped the gun a few times, and so you don't know if they're actually going to have a team. And the Arizona Bandits still have not been announced yet, which is very interesting to me because when they announced AF1, their page announced it. So what are they going to do? That's just an interesting question about that there. So, because as of right now, AF1 has 12 teams, and if they end there, that's actually not a bad deal right there. And it'll be interesting. Now we have to wait on, of course, their scheduling, their television deal, and like you expect there's going to be some on TV, some probably on YouTube. As long as it's not on the Virate network, we are good. So that's it for AF1. We're going to take a little break here, and there's some other kind of, I would say, kind of a little bit more interesting with the other leagues too that I'll mention here soon. Be right back.
Houston, we've triumphed. I've made it back to Earth with the cargo intact. The game-changing, time-sensitive payload is none other than the revolutionary energy flavor we've all been waiting for. Introducing Merc Mayhem Cherry Limeade. Merc Clan played a crucial role in securing this energy flavor, and together we've unlocked the future of power. Merc Mayhem is not just a drink, it's a statement, a fusion of relentless energy and bold flavor. The secret is out. Merc Mayhem is set to redefine the energy landscape, leaving ordinary drinks in its cosmic dust. Get ready for a taste explosion that matches Merc Clan's unparalleled power. Join the revolution, and let's unleash Merc Mayhem upon the world. Astronaut M signing off.
Same great taste. Yes, same great taste. Same great taste.
And we're back. So we're done with the AF1 news. Now we go to what we seem to have thought earlier as of all the arena football leagues of stability. We go to the indoor football league. They've done their free agency well, but the biggest news is the last few weeks, as I would like to call, so far, I would like to call this upcoming season called the season of dormancy, which is kind of interesting because they originally were going to have the newest team with the freight that's played in Indianapolis, and then a few weeks ago they had two teams going dormant with the Frisco Fighters in Texas and the Duke City Gladiators near the DC area. Then last week, and it's kind of interesting too, is that now the Sioux Falls Storm in South Dakota have just said they're going dormant as well, but it's not really as clear as the other two because it came out of nowhere and seems kind of more like it's more like venue problems. So let's go here to the article here by the Off the Wall Football Podcast, another great site I do recommend. Sioux Falls Storm announced earlier this week they will be going dormant for the 2025 season, marking the third IFL team to go dormant this offseason. It was fairly shocking to see the 11-time league champs to make this happen. Because one thing that's interesting, because it's kind of different with the other two. See, the other two teams only been around for, let's say, about somewhere between 3 to 5 years with those two teams. Sioux Falls Storm, they've been around for about over 20 years. So it was really shocking for this team to go into dormancy. Uh, But where things got more curious when they released their statement on Instagram and on their website. And it says, the Sioux Falls Storm indoor football team announced today the team will enter dormancy for the 2025 Indoor Football League season. The decision comes after Denny Sanford Premier Center declined to offer a new agreement for the team to play in their facility. So, wait a minute. There were, like I said, arena issues. Apparently, the person in charge, because you have to remember when it comes to these football teams, they do not own their arenas. Like most, because in the NFL, you got some teams that own their stadiums and some that are still owned by the local government. When it's all the teams usually in arena leagues, they play that usually are owned by the government or owned by another team. Because remember back in the day, I'll go back to the old Arena Football League. Is like I'm wearing the shirt for the St. Louis Stampede in the 90s, and the St. Louis Blues own that organization, and they kind of own the building somewhat at the time, what was called the Kiel Center. So we don't really have that here in Arena Football. There mostly every team is a tenant when it comes to that. And they actually been playing at this arena for about 10 years and since 2014. And strangely too, the arena that they played in was constructed in 1961. I'm sorry, I misspelled it. Because see, before that, they played with an arena that was right next to them that was constructed in 1961. My apologies. So, like, it just where they didn't offer an agreement whatsoever. But then the but I'll go here. So we'll go by the owner's statement here. We are disappointed by the situation and sad to step away even temporarily from our incredible fans and community, said owner and team president Amber Gary. Our commitment to Storm Nation remains unwavering, and we look forward to returning stronger than ever for the 2026 season. And it's been very frustrating to have to watch this play out the way it has the past few years. This was added by Todd Tyron, the IFL commissioner, and also a former Stonemarner. There's too much support and too much history for this team to be not to be offered a lease. My belief a solution will be found, and we can all witness the comeback story of the Sioux Falls Storm in 2026. And it just kind of weird for that to happen. Then I'll say this as a wrestling type of deal. Here the glass breaks, and here comes Arena with their statement from the Denny Savard Premier Center. And this was on the local article from a news that said manager Mike Cruson told Kilo Land News the Premier Center had a meeting with the Storm and shared their concerns over falling attendance months ago. I had a meeting with Amber Gary, Stormer owner and team president from the Storm several months ago. I haven't heard a peep from her or Todd Tyron, Cruson said in a phone interview. I feel they accepted what their fate was. I was open to a conversation for the future. And then that's kind of interesting. Haven't heard a peep. So they talked about it and they were just waiting. So that's not kind of like there might be truth in the middle, but you got one side they were never offered, but then you got another one's like, I've been waiting to talk to you guys. So how is this supposed to work here? So like you haven't talked and they announced they're going to dormancy. So now it's talks like the question is like this type of dormancy, do you expect them to come back? Because they have played in the arena that's next to the arena that they did play, though I don't really know the conditions of that one currently, so it's kind of interesting. A major point of the decision is the cost. Cruson, the person from the arena, stated how the cost of everything is going up right now, such as workers, cleaning, and much more. Since the Storm's attendance numbers are going down, it wasn't feasible to keep them in the building. So, and it's just kind of weird. And then another part of the article from the Dakota News, a direct quote from a Storm player and coach Curtis Riggs. Riggs said the team was ready to pay for new turf that the venue asked for as long as they had a multi-year lease. something the Premier Center was unwilling to offer. He said from the beginning of New Magic under Mike Cruz in 2019, the Premier Center has been outspokenly opposed to sporting events and fair events they believe they can make more cash. So, and then Rick said that the team was hoping to stay in Sioux Falls Arena, but former Mayor Mike Heather wanted the Storm to be a main community tenant and offer a share in the sale of suites. Rick said that ownership wanted to be a good community partners and follow through, but New Magic has left them behind. So now it's kind of like I'm surprised. So now it's like you didn't offer a lease to like still waiting to talk to now from the coach saying that we wanted a lease, a multi-year lease, and get all this stuff done. So yeah, it's kind of interesting because for type of venues like this, it's better to have a multi-year lease and not go by year by year by year by year and stuff like so that way it's more scheduling better with the events coming up soon because all the arenas that the teams play in, they have other events, concerts and stuff. Like for example, for us here in St. Louis, the possible event for a arena team here would be the Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri, and they held concerts and other type of events. Heck, you're able to do a dirt racing with motorbikes and little stock cars in that deal by putting the bleachers up a bit like the dome does for the monster truck stuff that they usually held in early winter. Then you got, of course, the biggest thing as mentioned before here, because these arenas do, especially if the high schools or colleges are not big enough for they're big enough for students, but the students' families, etc., and friends, they usually have these arenas have their graduation ceremonies in those arenas. So now it's just too bad that this is now you got three, and now what was supposed to be a seven, like now a 16 or 17 team for the IFL, now they're back to about 14, even though it's even. So it's kind of weird now. And it's just like another one. Hopefully, there's not another one. They have probably a schedule coming out, if I recall, because the indoor football league with the less teams are actually shortening their season a little bit. And them and the AF1 are supposedly start on the March 22nd mark. So it's going to be kind of interesting because the IFL actually starts a little bit earlier in February, like late February, early March in the February part. So now both those leagues with the new AF1 and IFL start at the same time. So it's going to be interesting competition wise because, like I said, some are going to be on TV with the AF1 because they have they're supposed to be talking about a TV deal. Of course, most of the IFL games they'll be on YouTube, but in local markets you'll be able to get a local TV feed, and you usually get that local TV feed fed into the YouTube pages of both the Indoor Football League and probably similar to the AF1 depending on the games and how they done locally because we all remember with Lee Hutton they were supposed to have this deal with these local TV stations and that didn't happen because they didn't pay. So that's the end of that. But what's kind of interesting is that a fellow arena team with the same first name, the Sioux, because the Sioux, of course, is like a tribe, an Indian Native American tribe, and they are playing in National Arena League, but they're in Iowa. The Sioux Falls Storm are in South Dakota, and they put out statements too saying this. The Sioux City Bandits organization is sad to learn of the Sioux Falls Storm's dormancy from the IFL. Professional indoor football thrives on the presence of strong teams, especially in the Siouxland region where we don't have professional football elsewhere. In light of this, we'd like to extend a warm invitation to all corporate partners and season ticket holders of the Sioux Falls Storm to join the Sioux City Bandits family for the 2025 season. Don't miss out of an exciting season of dynamic indoor football action. Uh, Kind of interesting, even though like I think it's sort of a drive from South Dakota to Iowa. Maybe not as bad, but it's kind of interesting. It's sad to say, like, hopefully there's not more dormancy announcements from the IFL. Then, like I mentioned for the National Arena League, they kind of start a little bit at the same time too. Of course, they had teams that had came in from another league, and then unfortunately had some other teams go away too. So it's just like you think you got some more in, and all of a sudden the other results would just disappear. Unfortunately, that's how arena football goes. Unfortunately, now we're going to talk a little bit because we haven't talked about what's locally around here with the league here in Missouri, which is the Arena League, which has two Missouri teams. One's in Kansas City, the other in Springfield, Missouri. The one in Kansas City, Kansas City Goats, and the Springfield, Missouri, where they have the Ozark Lurkers, which, in my opinion, has the best facility and also the best branding, especially partnering up with the Bass Pro Shop in Springfield and having a fish as their mascot. So, in my opinion, the National Arena League actually announced their schedule not too long ago. Let me put the schedule here. Now, their schedule is a little bit small there. They don't start until May. So there's a little bit of time there. And with their schedule, the one thing that I don't like, because they now have got two teams now. They added the Wise Guys and the other team as well. And all their games start at the exact same time at 7 o'clock Central Time. So like, I kind of wish they would find a way to maybe have different times like the other leagues do, but no, all their games start at the exact same time. But the one thing that came out recently with that, because their home office is in the Kansas City area, and with the Kansas City Goats, those that remember, they had some arena problems late in the season and actually had to go and play their games outdoor on a high school field. Though, to be fair on that one, those actually were very successful, both in attendance and in my when I saw it, a pretty good atmosphere. And thankfully, with the luck of the draw and Mother Nature, no rain or weather elements were a problem with any of those games. So I don't know. From what I recall, the problem was more the flooring of that arena that they were playing in. Like, did someone like take hammers to it? Was the foundation what was the condition of foundation? There was no, far as I know, any earthquakes or something. Just like something was to deal with the flooring of the arena that they were playing. And they announced just recently, uh, right out a few days after our previous show, if my computer can load here pretty quickly here. Ah, there we go. That they won't be playing in Kansas City, but they'll still be called the Kansas City Goats. It's kind of like I said, it's like the best example. San Francisco 49ers don't play in San Francisco, they actually play in Santa Clara. And also, let's not forget both the New York Jets and Giants teams. They represent New York, but they both play in New Jersey. I digress. And they said that they are moving. They are moving to the Civic Arena in St. Joseph, Missouri. I actually know that area pretty well. It's kind of has a small town type of feel to it. It's actually a pretty nice area for days when I visited when I went to college back in the mid to early 2010. So a very good deal to do that there. And they said that the Kansas City Goat relocation comes after the conclusion of the league's debut season, which saw the Goats play at the Mississippi Auditorium in Kansas City. The Arena League says it originally wanted to bring what it would become the Kansas City Goats to St. Joseph, but was unable to confirm a full home schedule with the season. So it's probably going to happen, though. They did put out a schedule, so it's going to be interesting. And the Goats, they were 7-1 and lost to Iowa Woo in the playoffs, and it's going to be still kind of interesting though, because now you got now instead of three other teams, you got five other teams to compete for the Arena League. So, like I said, for the indoor season, you got coming up here March and all that stuff in the spring. National Arena League, Indoor Football League, and Arena Football 1. Then, of course, you got a little bit later on, you got the second season. And so far as I could tell, and they said that the inaugural season for the Arena League was a success. And of course, a little bit different game. If you're a lineman and a kicker, there's not really much for you there, in my humble opinion, for the Arena League. But for the other position players, it is. It's fun. It's kind of hard to get used to, but it's still kind of fun, especially if all the creativity they do for that deal. Since you since the quarterback cannot do a scramble, they has to throw the ball to somebody, and all the players are eligible. Though I'm hoping to see they have more deal because there were some things we didn't get to see, like the reviews and stuff. Like they were supposed to have one referee, but they had two. So interesting to see how with the new technology stuff goes there. And like what improvements, not just of course, I'm speaking of Joe, not just the Arena League, but also Arena Football One and also National Arena League and Indoor Football League, because Arena Football One did mention something a little bit different. Like I know it was either an owner or an executive that mentioned of like because there was a few deals with the officials and the coaches, like you get to hear what they were talking about like during a challenge and stuff. So maybe they do something like that, like and also get better reviewing too as well. Because I would kind of wish they had more of a sky judge type of situation that the UFL does that they had, and then of course with the UFL you have Mike Pereira and the other head of officiating deal with that too. So something like that, it'd be interesting to see. So that that's all for the indoor football news world right now, and it'll be interesting because hopefully for the AF1, I'm hoping to get more of a schedule coming up soon, and also see like any more expansion teams because it wouldn't hurt to add maybe I would say at least two more because you need some more teams closer to the Mexico team. And we'll see because I'm still waiting, like, what's the deal with the Arizona Bandits? Oh, that reminds me. The IFL did announce that now their next 3 years, their championship game is no longer held in Vegas. It will be held at the Sugar Skulls in Arizona that at their stadium for the next 3 years. So no more Vegas, but it goes to Arizona, and Arizona has a lot of arena teams. So we'll see if that is a hindrance for the Arizona Bandits. Hope not, but we'll see because I don't know. Arizona did get hit hard, with, especially when it comes to sports, since the Arizona Coyotes are gone due to, I would say, very incompetent ownership, and now they are the Utah hockey team. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, and can't wait to see any more news. So that does it here for Arena STL here on Fuel Sports Network. Stay tuned for what's coming in next with Battlehawk Live, hosted by the soon to be wed soon with Jason Spurgeon and Amanda. See you all next week.